Welcome back to the Amped Up to 11 podcast, the show where we dive deep into stories of resilience, reinvention, and the unstoppable human spirit. I'm your host, Rick Bontkowski, and in today's episode, it's about redefining purpose, literally. My guest, Jason Dickens, is the founder and director of ReDefined Prosthetics, a nonprofit that's taking old prosthetic limbs and giving them new life, transforming them into tools, knives, and art pieces that carry forward the story of the person who once wore them. Jason's organization uses those creations to fund prosthetic care for children and host free experiences like the 14,000-foot peak challenge, where amputees climb mountains both physically and emotionally. This is the story of how Jason Dickens and ReDefined Prosthetics are turning retired limbs into renewed hope. Stay tuned. This one's going to move you. Hey everyone, we've got Jason Dickens here today. How are you this morning? This glorious morning in the backdrop here. This is a special treat because, Jason, you are the first guest, I think aside from James Dixon, who was in a car, you are the first guest that I've interviewed that is outdoors. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and if I'd have been timely, you would have me in a car. But since I didn't keep up with time as well, you get to have this view instead. So,
Well, I'll take
Glenwood
this
Springs,
view any day of the week.
and it's about 35
I
degrees,
was going
or
to
maybe a
say,
little
I could
warmer.
just see your breath there for a moment.
It feels a whole lot better than where I'm from in Texas, that's for sure. So,
Right.
I'm happy to be here and happy to be on here with you as well.
And visiting family, you were saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah, for the 4 hours of sleep I got last night, I got to see them, and then I'm actually about to head to go pick up my wife. So, the most important part of my family, as I have to say.
Oh
So,
yeah, you got to get that in there. Got to get that plug in
yeah,
there.
have to do a plug.
So when she listens, she's like, "Oh, honey,
yeah.
that's so sweet."
Well, and I got to do it in the beginning so she doesn't have to listen to the whole thing if she doesn't want to hear me mumble on for forever. So I get it out of the way, and then she can go on and do her thing. So
I hear you. I hear you. And I just wanted to speak to our audience today. We are coming back from our summer break, and we've got lots of episodes coming at you and that are in the development phases. Lots of really exciting guests, obviously Jason included. And stay tuned. So summer break is over, and we are building our schedule for the fall and 2026 as well. So I just want to thank everyone for hanging in there. I've received all sorts of DMs and emails and where are you? Why hasn't there been a new episode in a couple months? And we just needed a little time to reset. So we are back, and we have Jason Dickens here today. And I appreciate you participating in this podcast. And because you come from that sort of rarefied air of non-amputee who is very committed in the advocacy space to the needs of our community, of course, thank you. But also, my curiosity and fascination kind of kicks in because I personally, before becoming an amputee myself, I knew nothing of this community, nothing of what that vast amount of struggle, knowledge, pain, all of the pitfalls and triumphs and wins and losses that go into being an amputee. So I guess the first thing that I want to know is actually a little bit more about you. And of course, you're involved in a nonprofit that is, its mission is to the betterment of the amputee community, which is phenomenal. We're going to talk about all of that. But at the same time, I want to understand a little bit more about Jason. I want to understand, how were you raised? Where did your, I guess, inspiration come from, and your calling, so to speak, in the nonprofit space? And then how did that traverse into helping amputees?
Yeah, I'll start saying I definitely never would have imagined kind of being involved with the limb loss community. Usually people get involved, they get invited through either a accident or they were born with a limb difference. So I began to realize just kind of my involvement with it not being an actual part of the community is outside the norm. But um, yeah, I guess really, I mean, I grew up in a West Texas family. So, I mean, if I didn't say yes, ma'am, no, sir, I mean, I got beat. And so it was just always instilled in me to love others. And we grew up a Christian family as well. And I am a Christian myself, um, um, I I guess in a short way, my what I do is kind of my ministry. I don't really put the ministry stuff behind it, but just I want to love on people, and that's what I believe in, and this is kind of my way to love on people, in a way that actually makes a
So do
difference.
you
So
feel like your core value system in terms of family, faith, how you were raised, sort of puts you in that mindset of, well, we're here to help others.
mhm.
And I think
Yeah,
that's,
and I
obviously has really blossomed, in
mhm,
you, and you're still, a very young guy. So, um, there's a lot more coming in terms of
mhm,
your life's journey. And, when you said, the sort of, I guess, implying like the strict nature of your
mhm,
family, and I sort of come from those types of beginnings where it was like, yeah, you're going to do it our way. And
mhm.
you learn to sort of respect and revere, those ideas. And would you say that now, given that, you're a man and pursuing these things, do you look back on some of that upbringing and say, oh yeah, that served me well?
Yeah, and I can I'll definitely say there were a lot of parents that were a lot more strict than mine, but mine um, I definitely saw just their changes they made in their life and um, the successes and failures and but like specifically my dad, he's always loved people well no matter what part of his life he was in, and so how he treated others and still does, it's just never changed. And so it that being instilled in me, and I almost took it upon myself that if I didn't love others that way, or if I found that there was a problem and I could figure out the solution, I almost like I have to figure out, or if I know the solution, I have to follow through and execute on that. And if I don't, like, what does that say about me for knowing how to help somebody else, but like I'm not willing to execute on like actually following through with it. And so that's like a self conviction in me, of just if I didn't do it, it'd be hard to sleep at night. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you sort of build that, that sort of moral code, that moral
mhm.
compass, so to speak,
Yes,
where
sir.
you
Yeah.
you have to be able to live with yourself and feel good about the life that you're living. Um, and I respect that. And to take that and apply it, outside of a community that you're part of and say, well, I've been exposed to the amputee community. I
Mhm.
see a problem, and I think I want to be a force for change. I want to help solve some of those problems in a way that I can do it very uniquely in my own way, in a way that not only serves that community, but also keeps me engaged. Because
Yeah.
anyone that follows Jason is going to notice right away. Okay, this guy's outdoors. He's you know, I mean, please don't take this the wrong way. Like
Try not to.
he's a man's man, like
Oh,
like he's out there, he's in the wilderness. And I've been on your Insta and looked at some of the things that you're doing, and I think, wow, like that's some pretty kick-ass stuff going on right there. He's out there in the bush, so to speak. And do you feel like that sort of discipline or that adventurous spirit that you obviously possess, unless all those pictures are staged? um,
I'm really good at Photoshop,
yeah,
so
exactly.
it's actually a green screen behind me too.
I know,
So
I know how to place myself in all these various, wilderness type, scenes. Do you feel like some of that sort of, you know, uh, created that trajectory, that adventurous spirit about engaging something like a nonprofit? I mean, when you talk about this endeavor, Redefined Prosthetics, and the uniqueness of it, right?
mhm.
Because I mean, I've never heard of anything like this before. And I'm sure you hear that often where people
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
how did you come up with this? Um, the repurposing of, prosthetics, various, parts and pieces, what have you, not only for repurposing of, tools and art, but then to take it, what I consider to be to a next level, which is to sort of center it around maybe a particular individual, you know,
Mhm.
and sort of create a story from it and really kind of get into a sort of a deeper sort of purpose with it. It's not just simply, yeah, we're just cranking out, as many knives as
Yeah.
possible, or this is with purpose. And if we can sort of make that into a profitable situation, which you're
Mhm.
doing, um, now we can help kids in the equation. I mean, all of that to me is like, like, whoosh, like,
Yeah. It's literally a win-win. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
if there ever was such a thing.
and for me as an amputee, it's like, whoa, mind blown. This is extraordinary. So going back to my original question, do you feel like that adventurous spirit has sort of been, propelling you on this journey?
Yeah, I mean, if if I close my eyes, I mean, I pretty much just daydream about wild places. Like my brain's constantly running all the time, but if I can actually just if I relax, I have pictures of my head of just like ridges I've been on and mountains in the middle of nowhere. And so like that for me is just calming and relaxing. And like, I, I guess for like a short punchline, it's just like I just dream of the wild places, and it does a lot for me, and I love being there. And I figure too, I'm like, well, if I like being there, I'm sure other people like being there, so we should get other people there too. So, but yeah, I I love the mountains, and I wouldn't say I love being miserable, but it once you get done being miserable and you look back on it, you're like, that was fun. Like I'll do it again. So, but
I think that's so true because there's so many things that we sort of test ourselves, our will, our bodies, our abilities. And yeah, it can really, it's kind of like embracing the suck, but at the same time going, when I get done with this,
yeah,
it's a great feeling because it's a that sense of accomplishment, right? So
yes, sir.
going back to like your origin sort of story in terms of, redefined, I know that you were, from what I've read anyway, that you were working in terms of nonprofit. You were engaging, interacting with some people who had suffered, combat wounds, various forms of
Mhm.
trauma, from being in the service. And then I think you had this light bulb moment in terms of, hey, what are all these old prosthetics for? And,
Mhm.
you know, kind of walk me through the evolution of that idea in that who you met, who you engaged, and then when you realized, okay, I think I can do something with this.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process. It's, I guess, almost what would it be like 7 6 7 years in the works, and looking back on it now, I can see the progression made to where everything kind of accumulated. I worked in a space where we worked with veterans and first responders, and I was an assistant program director and then a program director for faith-based wilderness programs in the mountains. And so, through some of the groups who came through, there was a group out of Dallas, and they had larger than normal demographic of amputees. And so, my my first real uh, uh, my first real substantive conversation with an amputee was at one of these events, and we we had a guy show up to a mountaineering event, uh, like 6 or 9 months like post amputation with no prosthetic, and he only had about 4 inches of a leg, and like we go hiking and ride horses, and he's just like, "Oh, I figured like y'all would just figure it out." So we actually just carried him everywhere. Um, so after that, I was like, we need to learn a better system of this. Like, we can't just, I'll carry someone somewhere. But yeah, through him, I met other amputees specifically in the veteran space. And um, one day I was just over one of their garages, I think it was, and they just had a dozen prosthetics laid up there. And I'm like, hey, like, these cost a lot of money. Um, Thank you. Finally got made. Yes, ma'am. My grandma brought me coffee.
All right. Thanks, Grandma.
So I'll where do you want me to start over on that?
That's okay. Hey, Brian, if you just want to put a marker in. Yep. And if you just want to go back to, was in his garage and saw all these old prosthetics.
Got it. Yeah. So I was in a buddy's garage, and he just had a dozen or so prosthetics stacked up, and I knew prosthetics, I guess, for lack of a better term, cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm like, why are they just here? Like, they're taking up space, and Shorty's just like, well, I really can't do anything with them. And uh, uh, a few months later, I did a project with a film crew where we actually took a prosthetic and we made it into a knife. And it was just an awesome project. And the gentleman we made the knife for, like, literally earlier this week, he's still using the knife for hunting purposes. So like every animal he's ever killed, like, he uses that knife. And so which now is really cool to look back on, because that prosthetic was collecting dust, and now it's like a functional tool that like betters his life and like betters his joy and happiness. And so I I just had noticed, hey, like, not that there's an untapped market here, but I just kind of bookmarked it in my head. And I got out of the nonprofit space in 2022, and in 2023 I felt led to kind of get back into that space of just like, hey, what can I do to help others? And so I looked at, well, a nonprofit has to help a certain demographic. So what would that be? And I definitely love working with vets and the first responder community. And but I just was like, man, there's a lot of programs that like help out those guys. And not that I couldn't do something to help, but like, there's a lot of resources out there. And I started looking at my buddies who are amputees, and I'm like, well, like, there's not that many for amputees. And even then, there a lot of them, like, there's no like adrenaline filled stuff. There's nothing like, hey, let's go do some dumb stuff together kind of thing. And in a safe manner, of course.
Of course.
Of course. I have a bumper sticker on my truck that says safety third too, so people think I am a little nuts. But so I definitely wanted to do adventurous stuff. And then the business side of me really started focusing on the prosthetics of you. I use like the used car analogy. Like, you drive the car off the lot, it ain't worth what it used to be, but like, it's still worth something. And I wanted to figure out a way to make these prosthetics worth something, both to the original user as a functional tool, and then in the nonprofit space, like, man, if we can pull value out of these things and just put it directly towards our mission, like, um, that that's just, that whole story is going to mean a lot. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. I really put myself like in the shoes if I was an amputee and I had an extension of myself that literally allows me to like do life, like it, especially for guys and gals who are missing a part of their leg. Like, you have to have that thing just to have like a simple walk, like either that yard and your crutches and hobbling everywhere. And so, like, love or hate it, a prosthetic is like the most important part of your life because it gives you the closest feeling to normality that either you used to have or like you've never felt because maybe you were born with it. And so these things have just such a important value, of trials and tribulations as well, that I'm like, man, like, if we can turn that into something that helps the original user and tell them like, hey, your leg is going to help other people as well, like that just, and their own journey. I mean, I was just like, man, that'd be really powerful. Like, that's something that no one else is doing, no one else is tapping into. And I looked at it in like a for-profit mindset as well, of like, um, we we could almost like, the goal would be to be self-funded, of like, if we never took in an actual donation, if we just got rid of knives and people gave us money because of that, which is not your typical 501c3 setup. So that's just, um, it was through just a lot of kind of data points I took in of just like what's actually possible and scalable here. Um, and will it be received well? And I think thus far it's been received pretty well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I'm a little curious about in terms of the, because I come from manufacturing myself, in terms of the process and the engineering behind it, I'm assuming you're working with partners, people that do already manufacture these tools, these knives, things like that, correct? And as far as that repurposing process, okay, so I think about prosthetics and, what are the, if you were going to describe, okay, here are the basic 2 or 3 materials that we are trying to harvest, from a running blade or from a socket or, or a pylon or something. And how do you go about sort of crafting that or repurposing it? Like, what does that process look like a little bit?
It's very rudimentary, and it's also something that we work with for-profit businesses to put these things together. So if I were to put it together, it would not look very good. They'd be duct taped and zip tied everywhere. I have a creative mind, but it does not transfer
I didn't think
to.
you were making these like in your garage or something.
No. No one will want to buy
I
those.
know.
And so, yeah, part of that, I wanted to work with other creators who were experts in their field. And so, uh, what we've done thus far is just like, hey, here's a leg. Here's what the original user is kind of wanting out of it. Like right now, we're finishing up a brisket knife we're making for a guy.
Okay.
Uh, we made a classic World War II dagger, and then we've made some hunter skinners as well. And so there's um, we we figure out what works best for the original user, then pretty much just tell the knife maker, which we are looking to do stuff outside of knives right now is fairly easy for us to do. We just tell them, man, get creative with it. Like, what do you see in your creative mind that you could make from this thing that has ridges and we need a cut on it? Like, what do you see? And part of that is cool because a lot of guys, you get a lot like they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so uh, the creator ought to be able to create. And so we just hand it to them and say, hey, here's some parameters to stay in. Like, what can you do with this? And so, I mean, you're just cutting it, ripping it apart, and it's one we just did. I mean, we cut up titanium and inlaid it into the knife,
Wow.
which the anyone who knows anything about metals, and I just learned this as well. I mean, titanium is not easy to cut, and that piece of metal like was jagged and didn't look good. But once they inlaid it in there, then put the epoxy over it, I mean, it just looks like just this perfect little coin. It's but yeah, we really let the creators do the thing that they're good at and do the thing that's made them successful in their business and create, and like let them drive the ideas. And we'll throw in and think of ideas as well, but like we really want to have the creators who are building it have the input and like do their kind of dream build along with uh the other aspects of the project, that them getting to be involved with the amputee and learning all about it. And yeah, most people, I've never held a prosthetic and then it's like, hey, hold it and then do something creative with it. So that process is definitely uh right now one of a kind and just kind of cool to see
Oh,
too.
I'm sure. Just from a, an engineering standpoint, it's like, wow, look at the way this came together. And what would you say, like, I can't imagine the reactions when you see, the pieces when they're done. Like, how
Hmm.
would you describe, others' reactions when they see that final piece that you've put all that time and, thought into, and you've gone through that process, and it's like, okay, well, here it is. Now it's time to use this, in someone else's life, and, make it purposeful, beyond, what it was originally intended for. I mean, what are those reactions like? How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's hard to explain because I definitely I try to be as objective as I can in doing these projects, because like um uh, and so a lot of times like a failure of myself is I sometimes realize, or I failure to recognize like some of the emotional stuff that goes on. I I definitely am doing a better job of it, and I mean the whole reason I'm doing this is to help others. And but yeah, I really never could have imagined the output of appreciation, or just the what someone feels whenever someone goes out of their way to do something for them, that like they, I mean, everyone deserves to have good stuff happen to them, but like if if someone was to do something nice to you, you're like, well, I didn't really deserve that, but that's really cool. And yeah, I've, and even with all the stuff we do, I never really expected just for for it to affect people as much as it does. It's just
It's pretty powerful
um
stuff, though,
yeah, I mean, it definitely is very self gratifying for me. I just maybe I put barriers up of like not expecting that, so that hey, if it doesn't work, like I'm just gonna keep on trucking along and doing my thing. But it's very powerful to have someone feel appreciated, and then let you know they feel appreciated on something that is kind of that you've built and done. And yeah, I really have a hard time describing it, just because I've been really blown away just with the short time we've done stuff. And we even have um, a, a project in the works of that we'll hopefully be filming in December, that I'm definitely going to tear up on. I don't want to mention it. I don't want to mention it now because it'll ruin
Teaser.
the surprise. Yeah, the teaser. But yeah, that's one thing that has really surprised me, is just like how it made people. I know it would affect people and make them feel good, but just um, yeah, I never expected just the gratitude that people would have from it.
I
So
think that's a really beautiful thought, and I want to echo some of the things that you're saying. Um, when I think about giving and being selfless and providing those good things for others, there should be a return on that investment. There should be, a a feel good moment. It's okay. And I try to remind myself of this. I'm part of a community where, just like yourself, I'm trying to create light for all amputees, and um, I want to sort of shine that light on people like yourself and say, look what we can do when, like, we're selfless. Look what we can do when we come together and we truly care about each other. And that one of the greatest payoffs, um, it's like hitting the emotional lottery. It's just that awesome feeling that you have when you see how much that means to another person. So, if even if I got one message, let's say, and I get quite a few, but let's say I just got one message that said, I caught that episode with Jason Dickens, and it just really, really helped me understand better what I needed to do to have purpose, to be part of this community, to show appreciation for others that are reaching out and wanting to help, and really embrace the power that we share in this human experience. And when I hear those things, it's like, that's enough. Keep going. Let's just keep
Yeah.
doing this. Uh,
Yeah.
it's it's not about fame and fortune. It's about that huge sort of energy that comes off of someone saying thank you for doing that. That's super important to me, and you recognized it. So uh, yeah, I mean, I appreciate the way you describe it, because sometimes it is hard to sort of piece those words together, and
Yeah.
uh, because when you're selfless, your disposition tends to be humble to begin with. You're not really looking for that return. That's not really what you're about. Um, you just feel compelled to help others, and when you do get that ROI, you're like, oh, okay, that feels pretty good
Yeah.
to know that I did that. I created that smile or that energy. Um, I want to segue into the 14,000 foot peak challenge,
Hmm.
which obviously that was incredible. Um, what made you want to take, amputees to a top of a mountain?
Um, well, I mean, I just kind of looked at everyone wants to go do cool places. Everyone wants to um, experience life to the fullest, and you do that in the mountains. And so, I a lot of people that's a huge hurdle to take. If you live in Colorado or you're used to it, it's just in your backyard. But if you're in the Midwest, or even if you're living like Denver or Colorado Springs, or if you live on the East Coast, like uh, just it's a huge undertaking to do. And then if you add in the struggle of um, um, having a uh, missing a leg, or even missing an arm, or I mean, even guys who have TBIs, or where you're off balanced. I mean, it's very, very intimidating. And so um, I figured, I'm like, man, I have a lot of experience up here. I feel very comfortable at on the side of a cliff, and I can help people on the side of the cliff. So why can't I just do that for guys who may need a little boost here and there? So but I I really just figured, I mean, just because you're missing a part of you doesn't mean that you don't have aspirations and dreams. Like, and you have to live as an amputee, like you have to live with the fact every day that, like, the hard truth is you are limited and stuff you can do. Like, you can't just, it doesn't matter how gung ho you are. Like, at some point, you're gonna need someone to help you with something. Like, it just, and that, and I can imagine that relying on others and trusting others is probably a hard transition to do. Um, but like it is needed in some areas, or it's needed to teach you how to do something and then you figure out how to do it, so then you can go do it by yourself over and over. And so that's kind of what we wanted the 14,000 foot challenge to be, is show people, hey, you can do this. We're going to make sure you do it safe. We're going to make sure that we teach you how to do it well, with the goal of go and repeat it yourself and do more. And like, that's everyone that came and hiked with us, we gave them a little book with all the 14ers in it. We're like, this should be your first one. Then you go out and hike more of them. So it's not that people don't need me or a mountain guy or a full team to go hike. But if it's, instead of jumping in the deep end on something, come out and like figure out what your own limitations are, figure out different ways to do it, so that then you can take that and then just go do it yourself. So the whole idea of it is just to be a catalyst to go do more adventures on your own and learn more about yourself, and then get better at being like self-reliable, or trusting yourself to be self-reliable. Because the mountains, and I preface this with people, I'm like, what we're doing, like it's not dangerous, but like there's a 500-foot cliff there. Like there's bears and mooses. I mean, you could trip a little bit and fall and like break a leg. There's lightning strikes. I mean, they're which I joke for amputees. I was like, yeah, and you guys are full of metal too. And with the lightning, like, oh, you guys are just targets. So lightning's a really, like, we got to watch out for that.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I looked at it. I'm like, I like hiking. I have experience hiking with amputees. I understand some of the nuances that goes into it. I feel like I understand how to push them well enough, but also be able to recognize if it's a mental or an actual physical ailment. Even with the event, we had volunteers there with medical backgrounds that if something were to happen, they're a lot better than I am at it. And just I looked at it and I'm like, man, I have these skills and I have the ability to plan logistics and get people together to do it. So like, why not do it? And there's, yeah, and just because you're missing a party, it doesn't mean you can go do cool adventurous stuff. It may just mean you have to take a few more steps before you learn how to do it all by yourself. And that's what we hope that people who come to our event and do it, is they go and do they learn how to do it, learn the right way to do it, and then go teach others how to do it as well. Then they look at it and say, well, what's the next mountain I can go climb? So,
Yeah, obviously you're very observant. And, you know, what I mean by that is you're tuned in to those nuances. And because you've observed people with limb loss, limb differences, sort of engaging those challenging spaces, you've been patient enough, kind enough, and again, selfless enough to say, okay, what's happening there? Is that, and I talk about this a lot too on the show, and you know, in a lot of the things that I write, there is that mental, and then there's the physical. Okay.
mhm,
And being, you know, an amputee, and as we move through the evolution of getting to sort of relearn who we are again, there are all of those sort of evolutionary moments of, okay, am I not accepting this? Am I not doing this? Am I not engaging this because it's too hard physically? Or is this just a mental block for me? Is this something
yeah,
that either I'm allowing fear, doubt, confusion, you know, what's stopping me from doing these things? And I think you're right in that you're observant enough to go, well, it may take a few more steps to traverse this
mhm,
area, okay? Because, you know, I'm able-bodied, I have two legs, I can do it this way. But if we're gonna adapt and be able to get it done, so to speak, there's another way to do it. And let me kind of help you in understanding that really success and thriving as an amputee, it's simply about recognizing and accepting the fact that we have to do things differently. And
mhm,
whether that's the way in which we move, whether that's the amount of additional planning that we have to engage, before we actually try an activity, or let's say it's, getting proper train up, having the right support, the right people around if something does go sideways, right? I mean, you've thought of all of those things. And I find that once you realize that it's not even so much the goal as it is, well, I just need to figure out how to get there. And
Mhm.
so many of the things that I've revisited as an amputee that I once loved, and at least for the first few years thought, oh yeah, that's probably never going to happen again. Knowing that I'm thriving in those spaces now is a testament to that. To say, yeah, you figured it out, and it was a battle, and it was hard, but how it goes. Anything that seems hard at first, eventually, with determination,
Yeah.
will feel easy at a point, and you look back and say, okay, well, that all makes sense now. That was just part of that journey. And now it's on, like you said, to the next mountain, you know? And the one thing I was struck by too is that you make these things, this type of an event, you make it free. So
Mhm.
tell me, like, your mindset in terms of, I don't want to create any financial barriers here. Like, this is free. Like, let's just go. Let's do it. Where does that come from?
Um, it, I guess my exposure to that is my previous work I had done with my old nonprofit. Um, the the gentleman who started that, they believed that our military and first responders should have access to wild places and be able to have a safe space to kind of go through some of their stuff and not have the financial barriers in place. And so that with this event, it's just uh, I wish we could cover more. Like and we told people, hey, like it is your responsibility to show up. So like, and that's also kind of that barrier of entry where if someone's willing to come and show up, like, hey, game on. Well, we got your full drive covered. We have your lodging covered. We have your food covered.
Wow.
So that you can take that away and like actually focus on yourself. Because so much of uh, uh, what I know and I kind of just what I assume that goes on in the amputee world is you're in and out of rehab, you're in and out of figuring all the nuances, and you're always trying to figure out how am I get insurance to pay for this, or how am I gonna figure out a way for this not to cost um, um, money or just cost less money. Like, how is this not going to be detrimental to like me just trying to live my life as a regular human on top of like this thing that just gets in the way all the time, and then the industry itself that they're always trying to nickel and dime you guys. And so that was the idea behind it of like, hey, we want you to come experience something. We want you to do it in a safe manner and figure out a way so that it's repeatable. And then um, you look at your family vacation next year and you're like, hey, we're gonna go to Colorado and we're gonna go hike a mountain because like I know how to do it now. I knocked it off my list. I understand kind of what it looks like, what the visual looks like. I understand how I can train better and just some other pieces, parts I need to bring. And so it's just like, um, just wanted to provide something that in a world where uh, amputees are just inundated with financial costs all the time. It's, hey, here's something that will teach you a skill that is gonna that's gonna serve itself over and over and over, and also outside the physical stuff, like you're gonna crush some emotional barriers and mental barriers that you have at the same time as well. So I mean, we just um, we wanted everyone to have a chance to come do it. So that's kind of just what it came down to.
Yeah, and that, gosh, it just sort of, adds another layer to uh, the incredible work that you're doing, because the fact of the matter is the insurance industry does not serve this community very well. And it's unfortunate, but it is a reality. And although we're fighting the fight, and there are changes being made. And, slowly I have seen some change. Uh, it's nowhere near where it needs to be in this
Mhm.
particular point in time. And people like yourself, plenty of other nonprofits, people we've engaged on this program, many of the folks that I network with in these spaces, and hopefully you included, um, they're doing this incredible work to literally lift us up and to say, we want to help. We know that there's gaps. We know that there's deficiencies out there. And we want to offer something unique, something different, something that, your experience, your life experience, your skill set, bringing that to the table and saying, well, here's the things I know, right? I know how to climb mountains. Um, I know how to hunt. I know about, these various tools. I know about this particular industry. And I want to be able to at least take that energy and set it in a good place where I can help
Mhm.
others. And to hear you say, well, I don't have any amputees in my family, and I'm not an amputee, but this is something that I see as very much needing my purpose, and that's just fantastic. So, um, I want to talk a little bit about kids as well, because that's kind of in your orbit in terms of
Mhm.
the goals that you're setting and the people that you're wanting to help. Because as we all know, active prosthetics, let's call them, the things that allow the kind of mobility that children need to grow and to be healthy. Uh, let's just call it allowing kids to be kids, right? Because we have nothing but
Yeah.
energy when we're young, and we want to
Mhm.
run and we want to jump and we want to play. And to know that very often those types of prosthetics are just not attainable because they're just
Mhm.
not meeting the criteria of what's called medical necessity, which is a bad word in the
Yeah.
amputee community. So tell me a little bit about your mission in terms of helping kids.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback a little bit off of your last remarks that we just did there of um, the not being involved with the amputee community because I have no medical background. I am not a prosthetist, and so whenever I decided, hey, like the amputee demographic, like maybe I can make a difference there. I mean, I plunged into it without knowing anything about it and talking with prosthetists. I'm looking at IRS tax code for medical devices in the prosthetic world to make sure that, hey, if I'm taking people's prosthetics, like I'm not like I'm not leaving money on the table for them. Like they can't go donate it somewhere else and get a tax deduction. And so I I mean, from reading medical research papers, I mean, I just really dove into trying to soak in as much knowledge as possible. And then once I realized, hey, there's some gaping holes in the system of care and just the industry in general, it's like, oh, well, there really is an underserved community here. One, from the medical side, and two, I just believe that um, uh, someone sees an amputee and they're like, hey, like I'll go help you on a walk. And like I'm sure you're like, yeah, that's cool, but like I can do more than that. Like I just don't put me in a box of just what I can only accomplish just because the elephant in the room is because I'm missing a part of me. Like and so and and doing all the research and looking at that, we had whenever I was putting everything together, because we got our 501(c)(3) about a year and a half ago.
That's awesome.
I wanted to do the mountain stuff, and then the knife stuff, and doing stuff with old prosthetics and the idea of uh, like right now we're just doing veterans because we like the story. Or we built the tagline of made from a warrior sacrifice built to empower the next generation. Because I'm just like, man, if you can get veterans that are also helping kids, then I'm like, man, if someone doesn't want to support veteran and kids, like they can just leave the country.
Pretty
So if you don't
much.
like those two guys, like you're probably a crappy human being. But and how I found out about kids, because I literally had never had an actual conversation with a kid amputee until like a few months after we got our 501c3 status. Um, so I didn't know anything about kids, never had met kids, but just in my own research and kind of common sense, I'm like, well, activity limbs aren't covered. I learned more. I literally yesterday I was in Florida with a group that makes free bionic arms for kids. Um, like bionic arms, like insurance company hate those because kids use and abuse them as they should, and they grow, and that just wearing down stuff and having to resize it just doesn't fit the insurance model. Like they're not going to cover that, and so there were so many just huge gaps in the care for children, that me as an outsider, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like we're literally telling our kids they are not worthy, like literally just not worthy. And I'm like, man, if I had a kid and who had some kind of a limb difference, and I had some medical professional telling them, oh well, it's not medically necessary for them to be able to run around, or hey, they need to stop beating up their prosthetic so much because we can't cover the next one. I'm like, I would be furious and would just, I mean, I can't imagine how mad my wife would be too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, man, that just, there's such a blaring hole here. So how can I make an impact as someone who like, I can't go make a prosthetic? And so, uh, part of the way I knew is like, oh well, we can push to have like kids come do these events with us, like do it with their parent, and like because I climbed mountains as a kid and it was really fun, and so I'm like, well, that's how we can have a direct impact. But how can we have a direct impact that maybe isn't indirectly through us, but we can help other organizations who are helping these kids and filling these gaps. And so then my research went into, hey, there's got to be medical organizations out here that provide that bridge that gap in care for kids and do it for free. To which I've learned there's really not many who do that. But I found an organization out of Tennessee and then an organization out of Florida where they care just as much about kids as we do. They have the ability to provide that care, and they do so at no cost for kids. And so that's a model of like, well, the uh, a large amount of our funds that we are able to garner, that isn't going towards the expenses of the projects we do and the events that we host will go towards these organizations because they literally almost 100 cents of the dollar they take in goes towards the kid because the the model of both of them, and it just it's not a typical 501c3, but they have other groups that are around them who recognize what they're doing and allow them to intake money and literally put almost all of it towards children and provide a free care for them. And
It's
so
great.
that's how we look to team up of the part we can play of how do we get a kid into a prosthetic whenever we are not prosthetics, we are not medical professionals, but we seek out organizations that have the same heart that we do. And just the difference is they have the expertise and the ability to do
Yeah.
that.
How do we
And so the
drive
role,
resources in that direction? How do we
yeah,
create that
yeah,
pipeline and
yeah,
be the conduit to make sure that, those efforts and those financial resources end up in the right place? Um,
yeah,
the thing I wanted to ask you, when I was researching for this interview and I was thinking about sort of what your path has been in terms of your life and now in the community, um, what would you say, setting all of that aside, what have you learned personally by knowing amputees?
uh, my life's not as bad as I think it is sometimes. I, I, it's just a change of perspective. Um, I learned to not take for granted the simple things in life. I get to go do a lot of cool things. I get to go to cool places, and but and doing a lot of that, um, I definitely have a failure of kind of slowing down, and slowing down and recognizing the little things, and I guess almost the little wins, because what I believe, like if I was an amputee, I mean, I would have to focus on a lot of little wins to make it to where I would get some big ones. And so I don't know, just with this whole process and learning more about the community, then learning more about just the the little things that, or what I think the little things that I do. Um, I don't. It surprises me the impact it has, and so it teaches me that, like, um, I'm trying to think of a good way to word it.
Well, I was gonna say it sounds like you're definitely been taught a lesson in gratitude.
Yeah, and I just I really don't know. I definitely wanted to help people, and I definitely wanted to um, have as large as impact as possible. But I just I guess it just surprises me, how just some ideas I have and some decisions I make can impact people, and then just learn and just I I I guess, I mean, if you say you're humble, you may not be humble, but I just really, I didn't really expect it. It just, there's this stuff that I figured I could help out with, and I mean, all the time I'm wishing I could do more, and I stay up late at night, and outside of my full time work, because the stuff I do for Redefined, like, I don't take a salary, I don't take any compensation, so I just um, um, I literally fill it in whenever I can, or I just don't sleep.
I'm in the
Um,
same camp. A lot of people will reach out to me and they think like this is my career,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like,
I'm
I
like,
have a dude, I got a full time job. Like
yeah,
like this for me, like yourself, you fit it in, you squeeze it in,
mhm,
you self fund it, you make sure that you're
yeah,
present, and you continue to place, your little grain of sand in the right place, or what you think is the right place, and you hope and you obsess and you continue to process the idea of, gosh, I just want to make a difference. I just want to help. And
yeah,
hopefully I can do that. And it's that whole power of one, kind of attitude where, okay, I have that responsibility to humanity, to my fellow world, to say, I want to do good things. And yes, of course, we have to go and make a living and do all those other things, adult responsibilities, and all the people that we're responsible to. But at the same time, I get what you're saying, because it's that sort of, that kind of passive but constant obsession of, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? Is there
it's
something else that I haven't thought of?
whenever you focus on building others up, um, and indirectly, I think it makes you a better person. And like, I definitely get inside my own head a lot, and be whenever, like, if I'm feeling down the dumps, I'm like, man, like, there one it just I'm like, there's someone out there who's struggling worse than I am, like, and I have the ability, I may not be able to help them, but I can go help somebody and have a direct impact on their life. And it learning more about the amputee community, it just really changes your perspective about everything in life, from what it looks like and feels like to climb a mountain, or even just like, man, if, like, I get out of bed and I just hop up and run around, but it's like, man, like, you literally have to reprogram your brain to hop out of bed,
Oh yeah,
or you have to
we
reprogram
we
it.
can hop
Hey,
around. It just looks funny.
Yeah. Or like if I got to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, like there's a process. Like either I have to figure out how to hop around, but then if I leave out like my shoe, like I'm more prone to trip, and
Oh
so
yeah.
it just there's the 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 understanding just a different perspective on everyday life. I mean, it definitely it checks me too, to where I mean, it's almost just like, man, why are you complaining about this? Like, there's
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who
Well, everyone,
not.
and I appreciate that, and I agree with you, but at the same time, everyone has struggle, and
Mhm.
I always say we all have our shit to deal with. There's always something like, oh man, this is not going well, and
Yeah.
I completely get it, and I would never devalue another person's struggle, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever that is that you're managing, that you're dealing with. Um, we all have something that we're tested and we have to work through. And I find that the more I press into this type of engagement where you and I are spending some time, hopefully we're going to reach a bunch of listeners, people that
Mhm.
are engaged in this program that will say, wow, I really took something away from that, and that's really going to help me see things in a different way, or it really sort of recalibrated my purpose, and
Yeah.
it gave me kind of like a fresh start, just to begin the day in a better mindset. All of
Mhm.
those things are super important. Um, if someone is, we're going to wrap up. So if someone is going to reach out to you, it's Redefined Prosthetics. How do you prefer that they engage you, engage your company? What is your preferred method of contact?
Either through our social, it's on Instagram and Facebook, Redefine Prosthetics. I think on Instagram I have a dash or a underscore, and then my email is just Jason at redefine-prosthetics.org. I'm usually pretty easy to get a hold of, and if not, it's because I'm somewhere in the mountains, and I'll get back to you whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, he's
Um,
in the
uh,
mountains, guys. Give him a little time. He's got to get down
uh,
from the mountain.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty easy to get a hold of us. So,
That's great, man.
and and if I may,
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of one thing you just said there. Uh, and I also need to give a shout out, our production. I have one of the guys on our board. He's a professional videographer, and so all the footage and pictures we get is because he literally does all the work pro bono for us. To which I'm hoping we get to a point where I actually pay him some money, because he deserves it, and we definitely. We're an organization that we don't ask people for handouts, but luckily he lets me use and abuse him to get amazing work.
That's
But
great.
uh, we our kind of mindset, and I guess I'll use the 14,000 foot challenge as a, um, if someone says, like, man, I don't know if I can climb that, I'm missing a leg, it's like, yeah, and like, that's a lame excuse. Like, just we'll figure out a way to do it and go do it. And so we definitely have an empowering mindset of, and I told our six hikers that went there, like, I expect you to summit. Like, I'm not prefacing this with like, oh well, we'll work through your issues you have and maybe you'll make it up there. It's like, no, like, I expect you to do the work beforehand to get ready, and once you get there, I expect you to lock in. I expect you to summit. Like, I'm not putting you in this bracket of, well, like, you have this, and you have this limb difference, or you have something wrong with you, so like, we're gonna be soft with you. And of course, we do it in a loving way. But we, um, and my videographer Hunter, he for a long time he's trained adaptive athletes. So I mean, guys in chairs, quads, amputees, and that's his same mentality. He's like, yeah, tough luck. Like, this is what you've been given. What are you gonna do with it? And so that's the mindset we take on a lot of our stuff of like, all right, yeah, you have this thing that's in your life that, yeah, it affects some things you do, but like, let's go, like, screw it, we're gonna still go do great things, and either you're gonna take that mindset and run with it, or you're not. And so it kind of is a tough love, but I definitely feel that um, the amputee community in general, just almost people, like, they don't expect much out of them, or they're almost too nice. And it's like, you kind of want someone to, like, expect you to do something great. Like, you want someone to be like, no, like, I think you should go climb that mountain. There's nothing that can keep you from doing that. Um, we'll make sure you do it safely, because there are some things, like, I can't just be like, I'll be here at the bottom whenever you get back.
Yeah.
Like, go do it, figure it out yourself. Um, um, but that's kind of the mindset we take. It's like, hey, we expect you to do great things, and we're gonna put you in an environment to do that, and then you got to fulfill your end. And in doing that, like, your life is going to get better because you're pushing your limits. And but I just wanted to add that in there of, like, um, we kind of expect people who come and do our stuff or do our projects, like, hey, you got to fulfill your end too. This isn't just a one and done. And we set a high expectation of, if you want to be involved with us, you got to take it and run with it, and then go figure out how to better other people's life too.
Oh,
So
that's great. And I love that as our tagline. We expect you to do great things. That is
mhm.
definitely something that I will take home with me today. Jason Dickens, I appreciate your time today. Redefined Prosthetics, please check it out. My name is Rick Bontkowski. This is the Amped Up to 11 podcast, and I want to wish everyone health and happiness.